Expect a chance of rain on Thursday and Friday. And on Saturday, expect fair skies.
Here we go, my friend. The very latest on Hurricane Isabel off the East Coast. It's crawling along and headed toward the mid-Atlantic coast. There it is. Kind of hard to miss on this satellite image. And there are the latest data from the National Hurricane Center. 11 o'clock update. 110 mile per hour. Top sustained winds. Movement north-northwest at kind of a quick jog, 8 miles per hour. And the pressure at 957 millibars. And once again, the area to be impacted, we believe, directly by this hurricane will be coastal North Carolina, up into the Virginia Capes, and up the Delmarva Peninsula, and then inland from there. That's the direct effects of the hurricanes. Already there are indirect effects being felt from Florida to Maine. Here are the warnings and watches that are in effect right now. Hurricane warnings in effect for all of the North Carolina coastline. Then north of there, a hurricane watch is in effect. Now, this is for the same hurricane. The reason North Carolina in the warnings are issued when hurricane impact, whether it's wind in this case, it's expected within 24 hours. So by this time tomorrow night, the National Hurricane Center believes that hurricane force winds will be in on the North Carolina coast. After that, since it is moving toward the northwest, later on in the period, hurricane force winds are possible up here. And that includes you in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. A hurricane watch is in effect. The weather will begin to go downhill there on Thursday. Wind, more heavy rain, trees down, power lines down, all those a possibility here inland. Okay, along the coast. Obviously, you've got the overwash, you've got the storm surge to the right of where the hurricane makes landfall, and then on the edges of the hurricane watches and warnings, tropical storm warnings and tropical storm force winds. Here they would be offshore. That would blow water away from South Carolina, so we won't have any coastal flooding. Here, however, in the Delmarva Peninsula up into South Jersey, it's an onshore wind. That will drive water into the Delaware Bay, into Little Egg Inlet here. So that's something to keep in mind if you have some marine interests. And once again, all the way up into New England, heavy surf advisories. There are also rip current advisories, south and east facing beaches here on the Cape and the islands, and for the southern part of Long Island down to Sandy Hook, and into Florida. Heavy surf advisories all the way down to Deerfield Beach. Hurricane Isabel, a shadow of its former self. Could it strengthen as it heads toward the coast? Let's hope not. But I'll tell you, the longer these hurricanes hang around this far north, the more they're susceptible to weakening due to dry air moving in from the west, westerly winds. So with any luck, we could get off, hopefully, better than the forecast. We'll prepare for the worst.
On Friday, we'll have temperatures in the low 70s with rainy conditions. Expect fair skies on Saturday and Sunday.
All right, here's Hurricane Isabel. As you can see, getting closer here to North Carolina. Still a very strong Category 2, close to a Category 3 hurricane. Feeling the effects, though, of some southwest wind shear here in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere that may be keeping it at bay. But don't forget the Gulf Stream is right in here, and it's going to be moving over that soon. There could be some fluctuation in intensity, maybe coming up a little bit, maybe coming down a little bit, too. But either way, it can cause damage and will cause damage here. Just prepare for that. The pressure is 958 millibars, moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. The center is 450 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras. And again, almost a Category 3, 110 or 111 would make it a Category 3 hurricane. Now, the projected path takes it to North Carolina. You go right in the center here. Again, it could fluctuate on either side here sometime Thursday afternoon. And then quickly accelerating, moving up, maybe over Washington, D.C., up into Canada by Saturday morning. Now, we do have hurricane warnings up, even the southern Chesapeake under hurricane warning. All the way to Cape Fear, we have tropical storm advisories or watches up anywhere from Sandy Hook on southward to South Sanity River, South Carolina, and heavy surf advisories for the Northeast from Provincetown to Sandy Hook, New Jersey, and then, of course, here all the way into Florida, where dangerous rip currents can be felt all along the East Coast. The winds are starting to pick up a little bit already in eastern North Carolina, and there could be already some showers heading into the outer bands here very soon. And then let's quickly update you on Tropical Depression Linda. Here in the Eastern Pacific, winds are 35 miles per hour, stationary, continuing to decrease in intensity. Nick?
Now we turn to Alexandra Steele. Good morning, Alexandra.
Hi, good morning to you, Nick.
How will your weather today track the progress of Hurricane Isabel?
Well, Nick, Jim Cantori and Mike Seidel join Jeff Morrow with live reports from North Carolina. Dr. John Neese will have his expert storm analysis, and in less than an hour, we'll have the newest update on Isabel's strength and progress toward the East Coast. Nick?
Of course, Isabel is affecting Wall Street and businesses even without making landfall. Linda Bell explains in the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Good morning. All eyes are on Hurricane Isabel. Gasoline futures fell in New York amid expectations the hurricane won't damage refineries on the East Coast. It's worth noting the New Jersey and Philadelphia area is home to 90% of East Coast refining. Meanwhile, Standard & Poor's says it shares the market's near-term concern that Hurricane Isabel could rival Hurricane Andrew's more than $25 billion in insured losses. And Air Worldwide agrees. The catastrophe modeling company said Isabel has the potential to cause a tremendous amount of property damage because the expected target area is densely populated. Air Worldwide said even a Category 3 storm could be twice as costly as Hurricane Andrew. Now here's why. A storm in 1938, which made landfall in Long Island, produced a large amount of damage because it hit during high tide. The firm says a simulation of the same weather event would cause $25 billion in insured losses. For the Weather Channel, Linda Bell with the Bloomberg Money Barometer.
Let's get you into the weekend. Saturday looking actually pretty nice. Once we get rid of Isabel, this looks pretty decent here in the Carolinas. Mostly sunny in the plains. Our next front moving across the northern plains will pick up a little Gulf moisture by Sunday, and that looks like rain in the forecast here in Oklahoma City, as well as Kansas City, and on and into Chicago to get the festivals in on Saturday.
In the meantime, the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast bracing for Isabel.
Which looks like it's going to hit hard and quick. As we focus in on New York City, good travel for your Wednesday. Philadelphia, lots of sunshine. Washington, officially under a hurricane watch, anticipating hurricane-like conditions within 36 hours.
All right. That's it for First Outlook, everyone. Stay tuned. Nick and I will be back at 10 o'clock, but in between,
Your weather today, right after Local on the 8s. In the meantime, we leave you with a shot of Virginia Beach. Virginia, the wind and the waves will be picking up as we get through the next day or so.
First Outlook is sponsored by DirecTV. Movies, music, and exclusive sports from the leader in digital satellite entertainment.
Our time now for our tropical update, and a lot to talk about. Let's get to it. The big story, Hurricane Isabel. This is the latest information as of 11 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Now centered about 400 miles just to the south-southeast of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Winds are at 110 miles per hour, and its movement is north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. The pressure? 956 millibars. Now you'll notice that it is still a Category 2 hurricane, but it is a very strong Category 2 hurricane, very close to Category 3 status. We've been waffling with this hurricane. In case you're just joining us, at one point earlier in the week it was a Category 5 hurricane, a very, very powerful hurricane. It underwent some shearing and it underwent some weakening. And now we are seeing possibly some signs of some re-strengthening. It's not getting weaker, let's just say that. All right, let's take another look because we do have hurricane warnings in effect, and all interests along the coastline here need to be kind of wrapping up your preparations. Hopefully you've been doing that for a while now, boarding up and getting all of your necessary papers and things like that, all the really important things together, and heading inland so that we can kind of ride out this storm together. We are talking about hurricane warnings from Smith Point, Virginia, and Chincoteague to Cape Fear, North Carolina. Those are your hurricane warnings. Some mandatory evacuations within that, I know, along the Outer Banks. Now, these are the tropical storm warnings in effect on either end of where we have the hurricane warnings. So everywhere we don't have red, that's where you have hurricane warnings. The other locations, tropical storm warnings in effect, and they go as far north as Sandy Hook, New Jersey, and as far south as South Santee River in South Carolina. Now, looking at this satellite vantage point, this is the past 72 hours, so this shows you a lot of what's been going on with this metamorphosis, if you will. It was very powerful, then it underwent a lot of weakening, and now it seems to be kind of getting its act back together, if you will. And at one point, we couldn't even kind of detect the eye, but now that seems a little more detectable, and we are seeing some evidence of it kind of getting its act together again, as I said. Again, we are very concerned about the landfall sometime tomorrow, so be prepared. We think it will occur sometime tomorrow afternoon at this point, but it could be earlier, it could be a little later. Depends on the speed of this thing, if it slows down, if it speeds up, that kind of thing. Certainly we want to be prepared. We have live crews all up and down this area, and we'll be bringing you live coverage throughout the event, so you'll want to stay tuned here to the Weather Channel. One of the biggest threats is going to be with the beach erosion. You'll probably start to experience some of that in the Outer Banks today. You're going to start seeing deterioration with the conditions today on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The cloud cover already rolling in. We're going to see the rain. We're going to see the large swells already affecting you later on today in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And then eventually, as it makes landfall tomorrow, we think by Thursday night, certainly Thursday late afternoon and evening, Virginia is going to be experiencing the flooding perhaps, as well as some heavy rain into Washington, D.C. Now, some areas through North Carolina, Virginia, and West Virginia may pick up as much as 6 to 10 inches of rain, just a devastating amount of rain. Flash flooding going to be a huge concern. Flood watches are already out. We're also anticipating beach erosion, large swells, a surge that's going to be something to contend with as well. So obviously a lot going on with this particular hurricane. Want to mention the projected path, which takes it right into possibly the Outer Banks of North Carolina or into the Chesapeake Bay. Somewhere within this path is where we think it's going to hit sometime tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. Right on through Friday morning, it will be moving fairly quickly through Virginia into Pennsylvania and then up and out of here into Canada by Friday evening. That's how quickly we think it's going to be running. Now, another thing that's very, very important, and that is the high tides. As we go from Wednesday evening to Thursday morning, these are the times that are going to be critical, depending on when we see the landfall. And yeah, as you know, that's going to be a very, very important thing. So Thursday evening, those are the high tide times, 1:31 p.m. in Atlantic City, and Cape Hatteras 1:31 as well. So as we recap, we're very concerned about Hurricane Isabel. It's the only thing going on in the tropics right now to speak of, so we will continue to keep you updated. Stay with us.
It's been a long, tough day and your body can really feel the pain. Time for new Bayer Muscle and Joint Cream. It soothes sore muscles and aching joints by increasing circulation at the site of pain. New Bayer Muscle and Joint Cream. Get moving again, pain-free.
Baby. Come on.
Friday, we'll have temperatures in the mid-70s with thunderstorms. Expect fair skies on Saturday and Sunday.
Hurricane Isabel is now moving toward the north-northwest at 14 miles an hour. It's a strong Category 2 storm, and it could affect some major population centers in the next couple of days here. We're talking about Wilmington, Norfolk, D.C., where we have 5 million people, and then farther northward, Pittsburgh, 2.4 million people, and Baltimore, 2.6 million people. Hello and welcome to Storm Watch. I'm Carl Parker.
And I'm Christina Abernathy. And of course, all eyes are on Isabel, and we want to get a look at the latest now with our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And again, the latest coordinates have it centered 315 miles south-southeast of Cape Hatteras with winds of 105 miles per hour, moving to the north-northwest at 14 miles per hour. And again, we want to join our hurricane expert, Dr. Steve Lyons. And Dr. Lyons, we talk a lot about the coastal impact of the storm. We also want to know about what effect it could have farther inland. Can you tell us a little about both?
Okay, great, Christina. Let's look at the coastal impacts, because they're going to be probably the biggest. And we expect Category 2 winds. That's basically in the low to mid impact category range. Some damage, nothing horrible. Rainfall, 8 to 12 inches we expect near the coastline. Could be a little bit lower, could be a little bit higher, depending on the speed of motion. That's still up in the air a little bit, starting to accelerate, so we're hoping that goes down. Wave action to the coast, 20 to 30 feet, and surge, 8 to 12 feet. Inland, our problems are tornadoes, wind, and rain. Let's look at the inland impacts for wind and rain. Okay, inland wind, we expect the strongest winds to basically skirt the eastern portions of North Carolina and crawl up the coast all the way up to the southeastern portions of Philadelphia, with possible winds gusting to 75 miles per hour or so. And then farther inland, winds up to about 40 miles per hour as well. Now, what about the rainfall inland? Well, again, heaviest rain here, but a swath of significant rain extending well inland up toward central Pennsylvania over the next 48 to 72 hours. So we're going to continue to monitor that. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the circulation is fairly large, and notice on the north side, those radius of tropical storm winds are getting larger with time. That's because the high pressure up here to the north is causing the pressure gradient to increase. And so we're not only seeing winds increasing down here on the Carolina coast where the system is nearing, these are gusts now, not sustained winds, gusts, but also up the coast. Some of the winds are actually stronger up the coast, gusts of wind, than they are down where the circulation is actually trying to eventually make landfall. So it's a very large circulation. I want you to make sure you understand that there's going to be a large impact with the wave action and the surge encompassing most of North Carolina, although the biggest down in the southeastern portions. There's our hurricane. If you're heading anywhere else in the tropical Atlantic, you're going to have a great trip because we don't see anything else developing there. We're in good shape there. And let's go out to the eastern Pacific. If you're heading down to Mexico, this is a final advisory on Tropical Depression Linda. Little spin out there southwest of Baja, California. Another low pressure center forming here. We're going to have to monitor this one because it's close to the coast. But the upper level winds are fairly fast from the northeast. So development there would be slow, and convection is offshore. Christina, Carl.
All right, hurricane expert Dr. Steve Lyons, thanks for keeping us updated.
And there is some good news with this system, and that is that it's moving very quickly, so it's not going to sit and dump tremendous amounts of rain. There certainly could be very, very heavy rain in eastern North Carolina, but it could be a lot worse if the storm were moving at, say, 5 miles an hour.
Right. We've had systems just virtually stop, and that's when you get the devastating flooding.
Right, so. And it's not going to be like that, so that's good news. There's much more to come on the second hour of Weather Center.
Stay with us. We'll be back after your local on the 8th.
This program was brought to you by Walgreens, the pharmacy America trusts.
Goodbye.
Adios.
Bye-bye now.
Get ready to say goodbye to frequent heartburn for up to a full 24 hours. Prilosec OTC is now available at Walgreens without a prescription for frequent heartburn. Prilosec OTC can relieve heartburn for up to 24 hours with one pill. So if you're living with frequent heartburn, get ready to start really living.
Bye.
Prilosec OTC works all day and